Air engines are kind of awesome. I've always liked builds like this one by Tom Stanton, and I thought of a way to make them even more fun and useful. Plus, I had just received a major desk upgrade courtesy of my first sponsor, FlexiSpot. My E7 PLUS 4-leg standing desk has a huge bamboo worktop with way more room to do crazy projects like this, and I can raise it up to walk around and work more easily. More about them at the end of this video. As cool as these air engines are, it's always a little disappointing when after a minute or even just seconds, the tank runs out of air and that's it. So I had an idea. What if we inject baking soda and vinegar into a chamber to continuously produce gas, using them as fuel so we can run an engine basically forever? It's essentially a brand new fuel source, and based on some nerd math, a small amount of baking soda and vinegar should be able to produce a ton of gas. This small idea led me down a path paved with failure, triumph, desperation, despair, maniacal laughter, and more CO2 emissions than a redneck who just found fresh mud. As a crazy person, my first thought was I have to build a V8. And after it's running, we can set up an Arduino to monitor the pressure and automatically inject vinegar as needed. After getting started, I realized this might be a bit much before I even have a proof of concept for this idea. I mean, I did manage to build a laptop from scratch, but that took over a year. So having learned my lesson, or so I thought, I decided to scale this down to a V-twin engine instead. Specifically, the kind of V-twin that Harley motorcycles use, since they still have a similar rough, loping idle to a V8. I learned the reason Harleys sound this way is because they're kind of just bad. They use a single pin crankshaft, so the cylinders fire very unevenly. But I wanted this rough kind of idle, so I started to do a lot of work in CAD. I designed a couple of cylinders to hold the pistons and a crankcase to serve as a housing, with the cylinders mounted at an angle of 45 degrees from each other. That would let me use this single pin crankshaft I designed so the pistons fire off time, like thump thump, thump thump, kind of like a heartbeat. To keep the connecting rods that move the pistons from crashing into each other, I designed one like a wishbone so the straight rod can move inside the other. I was smart enough to remember to print the connecting pins on the bottom of the pistons in 2 parts, so I'd be able to assemble it all together. But of course, in what would be just the start of my blunders, I forgot to do that for the end that connects to the crankshaft. But that's okay because we have everything needed to do surgery right here. And with everything in place, I was happy to see the pistons move like I had expected. And to help everything slide better, I smothered the moving parts in white lithium grease. And I wanted to see how the cylinders would look painted, so I gave them a quick coat of gloss black before moving on. Next, I wanted to design the top end of the engine, the valve train that will open and close with the right timing to allow compressed gas into each chamber, then open to the exhaust pipes on the outer sides of each cylinder to release it after. After a lot of toying, I came up with a rotating disc design with a single hole allowing access to each cylinder. As the disc rotates, it exposes the hole to different halves of the outer chamber. One half allows compressed CO2 from the baking soda and vinegar chamber into the cylinder, and when the hole passes over the other half, it then releases the gas into the chamber to flow out the exhaust pipe. I also gave these a good coat of white lithium grease, then with the pieces assembled, connected everything together. Once they were mounted on the cylinders, I gave everything a coat of paint, and while it's far from perfect, I liked how it was looking. Next, I needed a way to time the valves opening and closing in sync with the piston movement. So I made 3 pulleys that can connect with a timing belt, that way the crankshaft can control these valves no matter how fast it's spinning. With the pulleys all mounted, I decided to hook up the gas supply before the belt was in the way. Using small pieces of air hose to supply each valve, I used some heat shrink wrap to connect the hoses. To shrink them down, I used my trusty West Side lighter. Well, maybe not so trusty. But not to worry, the other lighter's nephew is here to help. I stuffed the hoses into a soda bottle for now and went back to sorting out the timing. I used a loop of TPU, which is a rubbery 3D printer filament, as a timing belt. And finally, I mounted a tensioner pulley to keep the belt tight enough to grip. With the bottle all sealed up, it was time for, well, absolutely nothing. When I assembled the first parts, it was all moving with very little resistance, but the timing belt was putting tension on all the parts and it was really hard to turn now. And the pulleys weren't aligned very well, which was making everything worse. This just wasn't going to work. It was around this time I started losing my mind. I had wasted the entire weekend working on this nonstop, and this was it. The video was already scheduled to come out, and I blew it. But then I realized, we're not exactly curing cancer here. I have a cool looking paperweight, and we can instead just do a basic proof of concept to prove that this design works. So I used a small DC fan left over from the laptop project and figured I could blast some of the gas through it to spin the fan and maybe even power a little prop from an RC helicopter. That should be a pretty nice demo. With everything hooked up, I mixed a little baking soda and vinegar, but I just wasn't getting much gas from it. To soup things up a bit, I went to plan B, which was to use citric acid instead of vinegar. In theory, it should be much more reactive than vinegar and produce a lot more gas from an equal amount. Since they're both powders, baking soda and citric acid don't really do anything if you mix them together. But as soon as you add a little bit of liquid so they can dissolve, the reaction kicks off. With this rocket fuel mixture ready to go, I was excited to see this finally work. And at last, absolutely nothing, except a mess on my desk. Well, at the very least, with all of these acids and bases around, I could at least use some fizz to help clean up some dirty dishes with baked on food. And after rinsing, it looks exactly the same. Well, sometimes when nobody else has built your idea before, it's not because they weren't clever enough to think of it, it's because it's just not a very good idea. But at least I got to do a project to break in my new E7 PLUS standing desk from this video's sponsor, FlexiSpot. Sincerely, thank you FlexiSpot, I could not possibly be more pleased with this desk. The E7 PLUS is a motorized standing desk that lets you dial in the exact height you want or jump directly to your custom programmed sitting or standing height with individual preset buttons. When working on crazy projects like this, it is so nice to be able to switch from sitting to standing, plus it's a lot healthier to get some super important work done without sitting down all day. I'm really amazed at how solid this desk is. It doesn't wobble or move while you're working, and every part is seriously over-engineered. I mean, look at this. It doesn't break a sweat lifting me, and it can lift up to 440 pounds or support 540 pounds as a static load. For my desk, I chose this beautiful dark bamboo top. And I snagged some nifty accessories like this foot hammock, which I think is the coolest idea out there. They have options like drawers and all sorts of goodies to customize yours to suit your individual needs. Right now is FlexiSpot's amazing anniversary sale, so don't miss out. FlexiSpot provides all kinds of standing desks to meet your demands. If you prefer a rock-solid stability standing desk, then the E7 PLUS is your top choice. If you want a premium standing desk for daily use, you can check out their E7 and E7 Pro C-frame. If you're on a limited budget, you can choose their E5 model. Unlock more savings by using the exclusive promo code found in the description. Check the FlexiSpot link to enjoy these fantastic discounts. Don't miss out on designing your dream setup with FlexiSpot. Thank you for watching.